morning sun shines on the gleaming hide of a muscular ranch horse. The aroma of bacon and coffee drifts from the wood cook stove at a cow camp. Silver spurs jingle as the men and women of the West get set for another day in the saddle. From the heart of Canada's finest ranching country, this is the Spirit of the West with rancher and horse trainer Hugh McLennan and his collection of music, poetry, and conversations with the folks who live and work with horses and cattle in the Spirit of the West.
An old cowboy has made hundreds of heroic bronc rides, made good horses out of outlaws in his long career as a top hand, and he's well up in his 70s now, and he's still riding for the brand. And today, Red Heisler has the heartwarming story of the horse he rides now.
So I took a friend of mine out there. I might have to be driven to the hospital because the horse has got a bad reputation.
A bullfight on the range is something you don't want to get too close to, but it's pretty spectacular to watch.
And then two bulls as big as boulders bang together head to head.
Baxter Black has the blow-by-blow account of a heavyweight match this week. And as we look to spring turnout, how are those calves and yearlings going to dollar out this fall?
Large feedlot inventories now will bring lower cattle prices this summer.
There's that story and many more coming up on the Rangeland News, and I think you'll enjoy the Cowboy Poetry Spotlight as we wrap up Cowboy Poetry Week.
No telling where they'll take me when I hear a horse's feet, my imagination in the saddle just a-riding with the beat.
I'll look at trail riding manners and etiquette on the Urban Saddles and Western Wear Horse Training File, and our Western Classic song this week will be sung by Johnny Western, who of course is the first voice you hear every week on this show. More about life and times of working cowboy Red Heisler after Gary Prescott leads us out the gate.
Well, me and Fritz and Monty struck the trot real slow. We came to clean the tatting place, cattle had to go. We watered at a mossy trough down by the old windmill. That's when the sound we waited for broke the morning still. Riding hard and fast through Wasatch and Mesquite, Spotty jumped a big pear bush and nearly lost his feet. Heading to the distant sounds of cow dogs on a strike. Well, I'll tell you now that popping brush is what I really like. We hit a live oak mott just before all hell broke loose, as several pups come running by trying to vamoose. A brindle bull toting horns broke cover just ahead. A dog in front and three in back sure had him seeing red. Old Fritzy spilled him out a loop and dropped her around the horns. When the slack got took, old brindle turned and up the rope he stormed. Bellering out pure fury, hooking everything in sight. But the big colt Fritz was riding kept slack pulled up just right. Ride, Fritz, ride, there's a cyclone on your tail. Snorting fire and hooking air and he's looking straight at you. You'd better pray to God that your partners, they don't fail. 'Cause old Brindle's set to own you before this day is through. Well, Fritz was bellering for relief, and old Brenda was bellering too. So Monty up and hocked the bull with a heel toss straight and true. They stretched him out, I tied him down, we breathed a heavy sigh. Just another day in the brush, my friends, nobody had to die. Heading back to town that night with a trailer load of beef, we hoorah'd Fritz for all his worth, giving him pure grief. We watched old Brindle raise the roof of the big sail barn next day, put the boys on the fence and kept them all at bay. But we split our dough, nonetheless, another good payday. And popping brush another day, you could hear us say, ride, Fritz, ride, there's a cyclone on your tail. Snorting fire and hooking air and he's looking straight at you. You'd better pray to God that your partners both don't fail. 'Cause old Brindle's set to own you before this day is through. The old Brindle's set to own you before this day is through.
Well, that story ended okay. Captured the wild bull and got him sold. Gary Prescott. Boy, it's great seeing him at the Kamloops Cowboy Festival a few weeks ago, too. Well, it's a great treat to have Red Heisler back this week. There must have been times and days when things go sideways, like they can when you're cowboying.
That's right.
And you wondered if you're ever going to get out of this situation, if you're ever going to get home or ever going to get back to camp to end that day. Because when you start out in the morning, you have no idea.
Or catch your horse. There's one story's not in Pat's book. Oh, Big Sputnik, they called him. Satellite. It used to go.
Yeah, the first Russian satellite.
Yeah. Called him Sputnik because he was always airborne.
He was in orbit.
Yeah, or tried to be.
Yeah.
So anyway, Mike gave him to me, and he said, nobody can get along with this horse, and you seem to be having pretty good luck with these broncs. I said, geez, thanks.
Yeah, that's a compliment.
So anyway, a big, strong gelding, eh?
Yeah.
So anyway, I got a hold of him, and that son of a gun, he wanted to buck all the time. And I got so that when he started bucking that over and undering again, just spook him out into a run, and he runs himself out of it. He tires himself out, number one, and he's running too fast to buck. And just keep him going, as long as you're not running close to go through a fence or anything.
Yeah.
Just let him go, and that's how I got him kind of ironed out. And I kept him in my string. And later on, I can remember a couple of years later, I still had him in my string because big, strong horse. If you want to climb that mountain, he'd go up it at a trot, not even puffing at the top or turning a hair.
Yeah.
So I thought, this is a good horse to have around, big circle horse, eh? So a few years later, we're working herd at a brand, after rounding up and mothering up and then taking them a long ways, you're pairing off again so they stay better. They pair it off, they won't go running back or anything.
Yeah, as long as the cow's got her calf with her, she's okay.
So we were pairing up again, and I'm holding the front of the herd with this Sputnik, eh? And he's just, now I got him. He's reining, he's jumping here, just about rattle your teeth when he stops every time.
Boy.
But stopping cows and working there.
He's working cows, yeah.
And Mike took a break. Just took a break because he's getting down near the last and let a few more settle, get out of the herd, let him settle a little more. He rode over to me, and I thought, now. Because when Mike rides over to you, you're going to get hell.
Yeah.
This is what's going to happen. So Mike rode over to me, and he just rode past me in a voice just loud enough for me to hear, not the other riders, loud enough. He says, Red, you got that horse working good. I thought, yeah, look what you gave me. You wanted me to kill me with him first.
Jeez, isn't that a... But yeah.
And Mike didn't do that very often.
Doesn't that make your day, though? When
oh, yeah.
Cowboss gives you an actual compliment. Holy. That didn't happen
got that
too
from
often
Mike. Not many guys got that from Mike.
No, that's for sure. And Red, of course, is referring to Mike Ferguson, longtime cowboss at the Douglas Lake Cattle Company and inductee into the British Columbia Cowboy Hall of Fame. There is more of the Technicolor memories of Red Heisler and a brand new song of the modern West when the Spirit of the West continues right after this. Welcome back to the Spirit of the West. More of the life and times of Red Heisler this week. And just about anybody who's earned their spurs riding for one of the outfits in the rolling hills of the Nicola Valley have heard of this guy. And you, I guess, did move on after your days at Douglas Lake, Red.
Well, I stayed there long enough that I was, all the horses that I rode when I left the ranch, I had broke myself and trained myself. Yeah. Every one of them. And they were all cutting horses, roping horses, anything you wanted to do on them. Yeah. I hated to leave some of them when I left the ranch, but Mike was giving up the reins. He was retiring. Mm-hmm. Stan Murphy was taken on. And me and Stan just didn't really click 100%. So I thought, you know what, maybe it's time for me to move on too. So I quit the ranch down there, and I went down to Nickel Lake Ranch. Mm-hmm. Cal Myers was still the cow boss there. Don't know if you knew Cal, big guy. So. Yeah. He could go over a colt at branding time, where the colt's ready to brand, reach over their back, pick them up at the flank, and put them on their side.
Flank them like a calf.
Yeah, that's right. Big Cal Myers. And I went to ride for Cal for a while, and then he just there that summer, and you know what he said to me? He says, Red, he says, you got a lot of experience. You're damn good with horses. You're good with men. He says, I wanted to leave. I'm going to retire now because you can take over the cow boss job.
Oh, man.
I don't want the cow boss job.
You didn't want it?
I don't want the cow boss. I just want to go out there and do my job. I don't want to be in charge of all these guys. that are underpaid, and I got to get work out of them? No, I don't want that. So I left Nicola. Then I forget who became cow boss. Somebody.
When you talk about Nicola, I don't know if this is right or not, but the name Gene Turnbull comes to mind.
He was the guy that was the general manager when I was there.
Oh, yeah.
Gene Turnbull, yeah.
Huh.
And he gave me the cow boss job. He says, we need a cow boss. You're the guy. I said, no, Gene, get somebody else. And then I quit there and I went down to Quashana Cattle. Went back up the road a little ways to Quashana Cattle Company because I had a good cow boss there. And I said, I'll work for this guy. I'll do him good, you know.
That would, the Roses would be right then, eh?
Yes, the Roses had it then. So I went up there and hired on to Quashana, and I got on great there. In fact, they gave me the high country. I took care of the cow camp. I had a cook up there and the guys there and took care of all the cattle on the range. Now we're talking. That's better, eh? And, of course, new string of horses every time you move. You know, and a lot of them, I took a lot of colts because I knew what I was doing, and it wouldn't take me long to get them going type thing. An odd, good old horse that somebody had give up that, you know, if I want a really good horse for roping and stuff right off the bat, I got to have something. And take the young ones. It didn't take me long to get them all going, so I went on there. It was fine there. I run the cow camp, summer range, cow camp up there. I took care of all the summer range up there. And then the cow boss comes to me one day. He says, Red, he says, God dang, he says, you're doing a good job. He says, I want to leave this place. He says, I think you're just the man to take over.
Yeah.
Cow
Keep
boss
getting these
again.
offers to be cow boss.
Cow boss again.
Yeah.
So I worked there for a little while, and then I quit. I quit there.
Well, let's talk about the horse you ride today. After a song that just brings up images of riding back to headquarters after a long day in the saddle, from a brand new compilation of songs by Eli Barzy and poems by Doris Daly. This is Eli and Good Night to the Trail.
Daylight fades to the dimming dusk as I leave this road behind. One more mile on a horse I trust brings a peaceful thought to mind. Who knows what the morn will bring? Hope for sunshine without fail. For now I'll hang my bridle ring and say good night to the trail. Good night to the trail. Good night. Good night to the trail. Good night. Days are long and the nights are short, but this time will soon be gone. I'll send some notes with a good report of how we're getting on. I don't often e'er complain, except this bread is mighty stale. I've had enough of this rough terrain, singing good night to the trail. Good night to the trail. Good night. Good night to the trail. Good night. Takes his final ride, a new journey has begun. We'll think of him from time to time, and a new song will be sung. The moon will always light the way in its thousand shades of pale. Turn and give just one last wave and say good night to the trail. Good night to the trail. Good night. trail good night. Howdy-o-lay-o, oodle-o-lay. Howdy-o-lo-hoo-dee, lo-hoo-dee, lo-hoo-doo. Howdy-o-lo-hoo-dee, lo-hoo-dee,
Now that's what a Western song should sound like. Red Heisler and I are talking about good ranch horses.
I got to tell you about the horse I got now.
Yeah.
This is quite a story, too. I was going to ride for John Anderson, and I wanted my own horse. I want to get my own horse, eh? So I'm looking around, and there's a lot of garbage for sale, eh? Anyway, I asked him, I says, have you got any, when you're shoeing, you bumped on any horses that, I want a kind of a young horse that might have potential? Well, he says, I'm shoeing a little mare down where they board horses on the way there, off that big hill. They board horses there, right off from the meadow. And he said, they got one there for sale, little sorrel. And, but he says, she's got a bad reputation. She bucked a guy off and hurt him so bad that he's not right. So they're thinking of putting her down. I says, well, that don't sound good for me, but I'll go have a look. So I went over there, and the horse, he just described her to me, and the horse was there. And I called the person there, and she boards horses, lots of them there, every winter. So I went right over there. I could see right from looking at the situation what the deal was. They were feeding mares and colts. You know how mares are around the colts. Unbelievable, with other horses. Mm-hmm. This little mare is standing way back there. You know what that tells me? That tells me she's the bottom of the pecking order around here. Yeah. She's staying the heck out of the way because she'd get kicked and bit and everything else. I says, okay. So I thought, that's her, eh? Okay. So I walked back there, and I had no grain. I had no nothing. I'm just walking back there, and she's standing there watching me, and I'm talking to her. You know how you talk to horses, gently, quietly. You can tell them anything. They don't understand. But,
the tone of your voice.
Tone of your voice.
Yeah.
So I'm talking to her, and I'm walking slow. She stood there, didn't move a muscle. And I walked right up to her and put my hand on her forehead. I got my hand over her neck now, and she's just standing there. And I looked at the lady, she's watching all this too, and I said, how much? She said she wants $800. I said, sold. She says, you haven't had a halter on, you haven't done nothing. I says, it don't matter. I've been around horses all my life.
How long ago was this, Rick?
This was about 10 years ago.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's a lot more from Red Heisler still to come, and Baxter Black describes an epic battle between a battle-scarred old range bull and a feisty young challenger when the Spirit of the West continues right after this.
Howdy, friends. This is Baxter Black on Spirit of the West with Hugh McLennan with a little peek at the bullfight. Ladies and gentlemen and followers of cowboy humor, in a moment of weakness, I, Baxter Black, have written another book. I appreciate it. Its title is Scrambled Wisdom. Almost isn't is it? Which almost makes sense. Well, our offer does make sense. Only $19.95 plus shipping. A solid gold guarantee. Call 800-654-2550. Online at BaxterBlack.com. The sound of train cars coupling rumbled through the frozen air and struck a nerve in some primeval core. Our horses started dancing. Something made their nostrils flare. A premonition washed upon their shore. We pushed them toward the clearing as their apprehension grew. They snorted and began to steer like boats, prancing sideways, rollers blowing, hoofbeats pounding the tattoo, and then a bellow. Our hearts jumped in our throats. "They're at it," said young Cody as the bulls came into view. His voice squeaked. Bulls can have that effect. He glanced around half looking for a demolition crew, the way the lower meadow had been wrecked. and then two bulls as big as boulders banged together head to head. It sounded like the closing of a vault. Tectonic plates colliding, their reverberation spread like tremors from the San Andreas Fault. Well, it dang sure wasn't pretty. See, one had a broken nose and blood was splattered up and down their sides. It smelled like when you gut a buck and get it on your clothes, a steaming green and red smeared on their hides. Then the young bull slid a horn beneath the other's naked flank and hooked him like an axeman felling trees. The old one groaned and faltered. The young one turned the crank and drove the aged warrior to his knees. "Looks like curtains for the geezer," Cody said, with no regard for differences existing in our age. "It's the way of things," he told me. "The passing of the guard, the old must step aside and clear the stage." One last lunge to finish off the ruler, now dethroned. It smashed into the beefy upturned hip. But the pecking order's fickle. No one savvies the unknown. The grass was slick. The young bull made a slip and went down, his shoulder crunching. For a moment he lay still. The old bull rose, no longer in defeat. His shadow fell across his foe, but never moved to kill. The young bull stumbled quickly to his feet. Horn to horn they eyed each other, and then the old bull turned away. Cody spoke. "I knew he'd finally get him." "You underestimate," I said, "the depth of nature's sway. If you ask me, I'd say the old bull let him." This is Baxter Black on Spirit of the West with Hugh McLennan. Thanks for listening.
Now, just ahead of the Rangeland News, here's one that I love to play every year about this time. It always strikes a chord with ranching couples everywhere, done by the guy that has shod our horses for many years. This is Matt Johnson.
Well, I know this stretch has been a long one. Oh, honey, I can feel it too. But it'll be another month or more till calving time is through. 200 head of Hereford bred, and it's time for me to make the rounds. I promise I'll take you into town when that last calf hits the ground. Well, all the first calvers are in from the field now, and I put them all out there in the pen. If you can do the rounds at 8, I'll do the rounds at 10. I've gotta get some shut-eye, darling, but wake me if you find one down. I promise I'll take you into town when that last calf hits the ground. When the last calf hits the ground, I'm gonna take you to that fancy place in town. We can wine and dine and pass the time, romancing and laying around. When the last calf hits the ground. Now the weather's been holding out just fine, and the bull calf numbers are high. Pray the prices are good this fall. If they are, then we'll get by. 200 head of Hereford bred, and darling, I'm almost done the rounds. I promise I'll take you into town when that last calf hits the ground. When the last calf hits the ground, I'm gonna take you to that fancy place in town. We can wine and dine and pass the time, romancing and laying around. When the last calf hits the ground, Oh, darling, when the last calf hits the ground.
Now the Rangeland News on the Spirit of the West. His roundup of news and coming events from cattle drives to horse shows.
At the top of page 1, it says a lot of cattle seem to be going into U.S. feedlots these days, and with a late spring and possibly turnout being delayed, there could be some impact on prices going forward. Check out this report from Gary Crawford.
One reason for the unexpectedly high number of February placements of cattle into feedlots, 7% above February a year ago, may have been drought in the southern plains. But Agriculture Department livestock analyst Shale Shagam told us there may be other reasons as well.
Cattle feeders are finally in the positive area after having been negative for a while. So they have some incentives to probably place some calves if they can get them. Packers are also seasonally positive on their margins.
So are many cow-calf operators. Of course, Shagam says large feedlot inventories now will bring lower cattle prices this summer, but will they be low enough to slow down or stop the expansion of the beef herd?
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be a very interesting question because the question is how many of those animals that are currently in feedlots are heifers, and what potentially does that imply for a continued expansion of the herd going forward.
This past Friday's Cattle on Feed report doesn't break out numbers by sex, which would indicate, of course, how many heifers are still being held back for breeding. Gary Crawford, U.S. Department of Agriculture, Washington.
A feedlot in southeastern Washington has settled a fine imposed by the state after allegedly failing to manage air pollution. Idaho-based J.R. Simplot Company will pay a $5,000 fine to the Washington Department of Ecology after originally being fined 10 times as much at $50,000. The fine was originally imposed for small particles being allowed to go into the air. The feedlot has agreed to pave roads around the yard with asphalt at an estimated cost of $30,000 to help limit dust particles at the 80,000 head operation near Wallula, Washington. Washington state law requires feedlots to limit dust and emissions from blowing onto neighbors, and the Department of Ecology alleges the feedlot did not meet those goals from April 1st to June 20th, 2015. And the German drug and pesticide group Bayer has reached a deal with the U.S. Justice Department for antitrust approval for its $62.5 billion U.S. bid to acquire Monsanto by agreeing to sell additional assets, according to the Wall Street Journal. The investigation into Alberta's cases of bovine tuberculosis, they say, has successfully concluded, but like many successes, it came at a pretty high cost. Some 11,500 animals were destroyed in the Jenner region of the province, with only 6 found to be infected. Federal and provincial compensation provided to ranchers who lost their herds cost $39 million, and another $15 million was made available for extraordinary costs related to the quarantine. The investigation did not uncover the source of the original infection. And as of October 31st, 2017, a fire there at a plant in Germany halted production of vitamin A and some of the vitamin E precursors. And that plant produces a large portion of the animal supply for both humans and livestock. Reconstruction is underway at the plant, and a website dedicated to its progress indicates a potential restart at the end of this month. Distribution of new product to North America is still likely to take several months. Quebec's beef producers have agreed to join the Canadian Cattlemen's Association at its annual meeting April 4th to 6th. Membership in the CCA allows Quebec producers to join working committees and have more information on issues like foreign trade agreements, environment, and sustainable beef production. The organization is developing a plan to increase cattle production in the province by 50% by 2025. And the next regular cattle sale at the Kamloops yards of the BC Livestock Co-op is May the 1st. Next sale in Vanderhoof, May the 11th. And May the 14th in Okanagan Falls. And May the 5th is the Spring Consignment Equipment Sale in Williams Lake. And the equipment sale in Kamloops is May the 12th. Hope to be there visiting with all our old friends we haven't seen all winter. And hopefully keep my hands in my pockets. Meanwhile, over at the Innisfail Auction Market, there's a horse sale this weekend, April 28th, and of course, regular cattle sales every Wednesday. Call them at 1-800-710-3166 to book your cattle, and put this on your calendar. The 58th annual Innisfail Pro Rodeo at the Danes Ranch runs June 15th, 16th, and 17th. And we're down now to the final item. And a young ranch kid, neighbor of ours actually, pretty bright guy, was trying to get a job in the sales department at our local machinery dealer. So during the interview, the sales manager says, "Okay, now, I want to see if you can sell me this tractor." So the young guy jumps up into the cab, starts it up, and starts to drive away. And the sales manager says, "Hey, you bring that back right now." And the young guy says, "Okay, 20 grand. And it's yours." And that's the Rangeland News. Coming up on the Urban Saddles and Western Wear Horse Training File, I'll look at etiquette and manners on the trail. Some things to make it easier for you, your horse, and the riders around you. And there's more from Red Heisler when the Spirit of the West continues right after this. Welcome back to the Spirit of the West. You know, a trail ride can be a pretty scary place if the riders don't understand trail manners and trail riding etiquette. And that's what I'll talk about on the Urban Saddles and Western Wear Horse Training File coming right up. And I'll talk more with Red Heisler. And I sure hope this song by the gentleman outlaw Royal Wade Kimes is not prophetic.
He's got a sorrel horse that he calls old Fred. His Stetson hat seldom leaves his head. Spurs and cowboy boots all on his feet. They're worn out like him. He's a dying breed. When first light comes, he'll ride the range. It breaks his heart in two to see his world change. It keeps getting smaller to meet the city folks' needs. They're buying up the land. He's a dying breed. Now memory comes drifting across his mind of a simple, better place and another time before the 4 lanes came and brought cars and trucks. They're using 4-wheelers now to round the cattle up. They're calling it progress, but he's calling it greed. He still respects the land. He's a dying breed. Don't need no lawyers to settle his fights. His heart tells him what's wrong or right. He's the last of the old West that we're gonna see. He's living proof that they're a dying breed. He's living proof that they're a dying breed.
The 17th annual Spirit of the West Cruise will be something unforgettable. My wife Billy and I will be hosting a big group of ranchers, farmers, horse and cattle folks, and Spirit of the West listeners for a trip I know many of you have had on your bucket list for a long time. September 16th, 2018, we will sail out of Quebec City and cruise Canada's maritime provinces in all the glory of the fall colors, including stops in Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island, Sydney and Halifax, Nova Scotia, St. John, New Brunswick and the Bay of Fundy, Bar Harbor, Maine, Boston, Portland, Maine, and Cape Liberty, New Jersey, with an optional stay in New York City. Now, just for the Spirit of the West group, we have a tour of a cattle operation in Nova Scotia. We'll have all our great Western music concerts and sing-alongs, and we'll be swapping lots of ranching stories. And we'll have a lot of special activities just for our group. You'll find more details on the cruise section of our website at hugh-mclennan.com and on our cruise Facebook page, and you can always call the toll-free number 1-800-530-0131.
Now it's time for the Horse Training File, brought to you by Irvine Tack and Western Wear, Canada's largest Western store.
At Irvine Tack and Western Wear, you won't find this.
Hey, yo!
But you will find this.
Welcome to Irvin's. How can I help you?
You won't find this.
What size boots you wear there, boy? You got tiny feet.
But you will find this.
Absolutely, we have your size. In fact, I've got the perfect pair for you right here.
The one and only Irvine Tack and Western Wear, something for everyone. Cowboys and cowgirls to city folks too. It's Western Wear with a welcome twist. Off exit 305 on Highway 2 by Crossfield. Open 7 days a week.
Canada's largest Western store.
Yeah, they have over 1,000 saddles in stock, and of course, Irvine's can be your go-to place for all your cabin supplies as well. Great place to look around, and it's hard to go out of there without buying a bunch of stuff. The selection is so good. Anyway, I've said it before. One of the scariest situations I can imagine is being on a trail ride with riders of unknown skill and horses of unknown temperaments. There are some principles of trail riding, though, that can make it safer, and here are a few. One of the most important: don't tailgate. Maintain at least one horse length between horses. And before you trot or lope on the trail, check with the other riders in your group. It's a good idea to put your most experienced riders on the most seasoned and reliable horses, one at the front and one bringing up the rear of the group. And the most insecure horses are able to handle things easier if they're closer to the front of the group. Herd-bound horses will not be happy at the back of the group. And I think that probably goes back to their herd instincts, where if a predator like a cougar or wolf pack is stalking the herd, the ones at the back are the most vulnerable, and they know that. And it goes without saying that no rider should be left alone on one side of a creek or road crossing, and if the group is going through a gate that must be closed after everybody goes through, make sure at least one rider waits with the person who has to get off and close the gate. And at water stops, wait until all the horses have finished drinking before leaving the watering place. Some horses won't drink if they're distracted by the fear of being left behind. And some trail riders just can't seem to resist galloping their horse up the hills. Now, I want my horse to go up the hill at the pace I set, no matter what the grade. And most of the time, we'll walk up the hill, unless, of course, I'm trying to catch a cow. Now, trail rides are a place where herd-bound tendencies can really be amplified. And once you feel comfortable with your horse, and make sure the other riders are okay with it, rather than being a length behind the horse in front of you all the time, I like to vary the route by moving out a little bit, maybe riding around a tree or a stump or a clump of bush, and then cross the trail and do it on the other side, watching closely to make sure that my horse is getting comfort and security from me and not from the herd. Good luck and ride safe, and for Irvine Saddles and Western Wear, that's the Horse Training File. Something else our horses do real well with is that daily feeding of Hoffman's Horse Ration, and you can find out more at hoffmanshorseration.com. And now, let's get back to longtime cowboy Red Heisler. So, Red, you bought this little mare with the bad reputation for bucking people off for $800, and then you went to working with her.
Well, of course, you know how it goes. I said, whoa, and just keep on going, eh? Yeah. And you say back up, and they stand there like this here. Well, that time, in about 2 weeks, I had her backing up, going straight backwards, fast, in a straight line for about 20 feet. I telling her word command, back, back. Back she'd go. And I'd tell her to whoa, and she'd stop. I said, okay, now I've got a few things under control already here.
Yeah.
So anyway, finally his round pen cleared of ice and dried up enough. So I said, okay, the time has come. So I took a friend of mine out there. I might have to be driven to the hospital because the horse has got a bad reputation.
Yeah, and you were, I'm guessing, around 65 or so then?
Oh, yeah, no, I'm pushing more 70.
Yeah, but at that time, yeah.
So anyway, I took my saddle out there and I saddled her up. Put her in the corral and I saddled her up. And I led her around, and then I tightened the saddle a little more, and I tied up the reins and I chased her around, And I had already whoa back up control, so then I finally stepped on. She just walked away.
Yeah.
And around we went around.
You didn't step on and over and under her right away like you did.
Oh, no, nothing like that. I just stepped on and gently I put a boselle on her right from the word go, because I was a bosmel man back in Quishana and Douglas Lake and everything. I rode all my horses with boselles and horsehair reins, closed reins with a lead shank. Yeah. And my horses never had anything wrong with the top of their nose, never, and nothing, no hair, no. I had them right there, type thing.
And you're still riding that mare now?
I'm riding that mare yet, and that's been 8 years ago now.
Yeah.
And I'm riding that mare now, and we never looked back. She's never bucked with me once. I put the boselle on her, and I just rode her. I'm riding still with the same boselle. But called a Mustang saddle. Mustang is because I've discovered what her history was.
Right.
How she was born is she was up there by the mine, and just below the mine years ago there used to be a quarter horse place. This Mustang mare was in heat, and let's face it, wild horse herd, everybody could have took care of her.
Yeah.
In the whole herd, any male in the whole herd. But she jumped over the fence, I don't know why, but she went down to this quarter horse barn, and he must have been in a low area or something. She got in with him and got bred. This little mare is the result.
Right.
So she's Mustang Sally.
Well, this is great stuff. Maybe we'll even get horseback together someday.
I'd like that.
That'd be neat. Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you, Red, and we'll do this again.
Yes.
You bet.
Well, Charlie Ewing is still calving out on the eastern slopes of the Rockies, and a little while ago he posted a picture of a couple of calves thawing out in the heated calving barn, and his comment, "Only one more day and the warm air is supposed to arrive. Cows inspire me. They just take whatever comes without complaint." Here's Charlie with a great song he wrote about cowboy pride.
He spent most of his life living at the end of the road. He's filled up his days chasing cows on horses he's rode. Where the wild chinook blows and fescue stands tall, brand 'em in the spring, weed 'em in the fall. It's the feeling within, whistling grin cowboy ways. The saddle he's riding, an old rough-out Dale Harwood way. His horse is packing Santa Barbara Garcia spade. He's proud of his gear and the tools of his trade. He won't swap you a thing for all the money you've made. He's riding with pride, happy inside cowboy ways. Cowboy ways. As the cities close in, remember those old cowboy ways. If something's worth doing, you can do it from the back of a horse. It's the code of the West, you can't learn it by taking a course. You just keep your mouth shut and your eyes open wide. Watch the old ones at work as they rope and they ride. You ride for the brand, try to make a hand cowboy way. Now the snow's blown hard from the north on this cold April day. He'll be riding till late, trying to save the new calves where they lay. He may curse to himself at the sting of the wind, but he loves what he does. The Feels good when he wins. It's the hardships that mold him. Tried and true old cowboy ways. Cowboy ways. As the cities close in, remember those old cowboy ways. Cowboy ways.
Coming up is our classic song of the West sung by the great Johnny Western, and an example of what good cowboy poetry should sound like when the Spirit of the West continues right after this. Welcome back to the Spirit of the West. For this week's classic song, we go way back to a movie that produced a great song about a bad woman. It was first recorded by Guy Mitchell, who had 2 hits that were also hits for Marty Robbins, Singin' the Blues and Knee Deep in the Blues. But this song was written by the incredibly talented Stan Jones, best known, of course, for Ghost Riders in the Sky. He wrote this one for a movie of the same name from 1953. The story is from McKinley Cantor's book Wicked Water, based on the life of Tom Horn. And it features a great title song that, ironically, is still available by the guy who introduces this program every week, Johnny Western and Hannah Lee.
Your dusty eyes were softly glowing when first I met you, Hannah Lee. I took your love, but without knowing the sorrow your caress would bring to me. You shot and killed your cruel husband because you found you loved but me. The truth you would not tell the jury, and they blamed me for your sin, oh Hannah Lee. High, high, high are the gallows, long is the rope that waits for me. You gotta tell the truth, you pretty devil. Tell them that you did the killing, Hannah Lee. Tell them that you did the killing, Hannah Lee. I know there's gonna be a hanging. The man they're gonna hang is me. You had no right to say you love me, and I know now that you lied, oh Hannah Lee. Then at the jail on hanging morning, I heard you tell them that you lied. Your dusty eyes were soft and gentle, and so you hung your pretty head and cried. High, high, high were the gallows, long was the rope not meant for me. Warning all you reckless lovers, for they hung that pretty devil, Hannah Lee. Yes, they hung that pretty devil, Hannah Lee. They hung sweet Hannah Lee.
Hi, folks, this is Johnny Western. You're listening to The Spirit of the West with Hugh McLennan.
Thank you, Johnny. I sound like Alex Trebek there. Anyway, I think you'll like this. This is Tom Swearington in front of a live audience.
There's nothing else as magic as the rhythm of that sound. Could be a gentle clip-clop ambling down the street, or thunder at the gallop, all a blur of legs and feet. Don't matter whether barefoot or shod with nails and steel, there's nothing else I've heard gives me quite the feel. I've heard the greatest orchestras and a diva's glorious song, and choirs harmonizing like a grand angelic throng. I have seen the late and great ones, from Elvis to George Jones, those with voices that move and shake you deep into your bones. But I hear something special when a horse hoof hits the ground. There's nothing else as magic as the rhythm of that sound. I've heard a child's first words and the whinny of a newborn foal, the beautiful songs of yesteryear and classic poems of old, the echoes through the canyon when a coyote calls a friend, the gentle sound of evening breeze at daylight's peaceful end. And yes, those sounds are wonderful, and each speaks to my soul, but so does the sound of hoofbeats when horses are on a roll. When I hear a horse's hoofbeats, no telling what I'll find, with imagination running free, painting pictures in my mind. Future Derby winner leading on the rail. Pony Express rider rushing someone's mail. Finals barrel racer turning on a dime. Old country doctor's buggy arriving just in time. Desperado's getaway following a spree. Posse hot behind aiming to hang him in a tree. A bred-to-buck saddle bronc flanked and just set loose. Proud Umatilla on a swift cayuse. A bulldogger and hazer closing on a steer. Revolution warning ride of patriot Paul Revere. Or the horses I grew up with when I was just a pup. Flicka, Silver, Trigger, and my stick horse Giddy Up. No telling where they'll take me when I hear a horse's feet, my imagination in the saddle just a-riding with the beat. Because I hear something special when a horse hoof hits the ground. There's nothing else as magic as the rhythm of that sound.
Well, thank you so much for making the ride today, and I sure hope you can join us right here next week at the same time. And thanks again to Mark and Kathy McMillan, the official Spirit of the West support crew. It's Mark that does all those great visuals you see on our Facebook radio show page and on our YouTube version too. And if you need tractor parts, any make, any year, Mark can help you. See his page, bctractorparts.com. And of course, there's great reading in this month's issue of Canadian Cowboy Country Magazine. You can subscribe by calling 1-800-943-7336. Till next week, I'm Hugh McLennan. Hope to see you down the trail somewhere real soon.